plays video games all day, and his wife is fed up.
Hey, what's up? Sorry it's been a while since my last video. I've been trying to stay away from Overwatch since I was displaying COVID symptoms. I wanted to keep up my mental fortitude. Due to the recent surge in Brig play and my also recent admission to the Brig fan club, I decided it was about time I make a video on her. This is going to serve as the basic guide for her. There will also be an advanced guide that will be in the description or up next. If you already feel you know the basics of Brig, I would still recommend that you stick around, just because a lot of the topics in the advanced videos are expansions of what we talk about in here, and this video also provides a lot of context for topics in the future video. I'm going to be trying to stick to more giving tips for each abilities more than just the raw numbers and all that sort of stuff, but I still will go in depth for some parts that I feel are important to know for each ability. All right, so first off is her passive. It is called Inspire. I'm going to be looking to the guide or to my doc for this quite a bit because it's just numbers and I'm not very good at remembering that kind of stuff. So Inspire will heal for 15 healing per second. Every time it's triggered, it will go for 6 seconds. You can only trigger it once every second. It is triggered by Flail, Whip Shot, and Shield Bash. So like I said, anything that does damage can trigger Inspire. And the only tip that I have for it is that it does not stack if you trigger before the duration ends. If you damage someone and then you have Inspire up for 3 seconds and you do it again, it does not add 6 seconds. It merely restarts at 6 seconds again. Oh, I do not have one tip. I actually have two. It requires LOS line of sight. So if your teammate's behind an enemy shield or they're behind a wall or something, even partially, it will not heal them. So make sure you have LOS of them. All right, next up is her main weapon, her Flail. It does 35 damage a swing. It's got a 6-meter range. You swing it once every 0.6 seconds. So I have two tips for this one. One is it actually has a 33% longer range, which is dependent on which side you're swiping towards. So if Brig moves her Flail to the left, then you have 1 more meter of hit range on the left side than you do the right, if that makes sense. My other tip is that she actually gets a 3 times multiplier on headshots with it, so be sure to aim for the enemy's heads with her Flail. I'm sorry, I was just told that it is illegal to lie on the internet. So that most recent tip was a lie. My apologies for any affected entities of my lie. Next up will be her Repair Pack. It heals 110 healing over 2 seconds, so 55 every second. It's got a speed of 45 meters per second. So I like to keep that stuff in mind. You get 3 of them. The duration of it is 2 seconds, and you have a 6-second recharge rate for them. The only tip I have for it is that it does stack just in duration and not speed. So if you put all 3 of your healing kits on your Reinhardt when he's low, it will not heal him 3 times as fast. It will merely stack the duration. So they last 2 seconds. He will get a 55 healing per second HOT, healing over time. He'll get that for 6 seconds instead of 2, like you would from using 1. So they do stack, just not with a fast heal. Just make sure you remember that. The key takeaway is that you do not want to spam the kits if someone's right about to die. You can spam them, just make sure you do it in the right scenario. All right, next up is Whip Shot. The main parts you'll want to think about regarding the numbers for this are the casting time. It's got a 0.2 second startup and a 0.3 second time when you're actually throwing the whip out, and it's got a 4-second cooldown. So of course you can utilize this for boops, as many love to, but its main usage is going to be triggering Inspire when you're not actually fighting, when you're in poke phase or not really doing anything. So ensure that's your main priority with Whip Shot. You'll also want to keep in mind that when you fully send out the Flail and it doesn't hit anything, it does have a 0.3 second time. So the 0.2 cast plus that is half a second. So a half a second doesn't seem like a lot, but it can be a lot when you're a gold Brig and you've got a GM Smurf Widow in your game, just for instance. All right, up next is Brig's Shield, her Paper Shield. It currently has 250 health. That changes basically every other patch, so if it does, I apologize for the misinformation. She regenerates 85 shield per second when it's down for 2 seconds. And it gives her a 30% movement speed penalty, as well as if it's destroyed, you get a 5-second cooldown on it. So a very important thing for Brig, as her shield currently stands, is you'll want to utilize shield hopping. This process is only keeping the shield up when necessary to close distance. So if there's a Widow, try to time your shield being up with her shots because of the movement speed penalty and how little shield you have, just for instance. But shield hopping, you'll jump, and have the shield up while you're jumping because you maintain some more of that momentum. Another thing you'll want to keep in mind is try not to get her shield fully broken. This is the same thing as with Rhine and Sigma. You know, even if it gets down to 10 or anything super low, it doesn't matter as long as it doesn't hit 0, because when it hits 0, you get that 5-second penalty, which can be big for Brig because... especially Brig, because with her, you don't just lose your shield, you also lose one of your abilities when shield's on cooldown. So keep that in mind. All right, I'm sure all these numbers are pretty boring for all you guys just roaring to get in there and play some Brig, so we're going to take a quick sponsor break. Hey, this is Jeffrey from the Overwatch team. I wanted to talk about the Blizzard School of Game Dev Design. Are you tired of putting time into designing mechanically intensive, skill-ceiling heavy characters? So were we. If you come to our school, you'll learn all about the ins and out of non-intensive character design. Check out our newest character. He's a 6'9" boxer. His code name is Gym Freak. His primary weapon is a minigun with auto-targeting capabilities. One of his abilities even allows him to gather up all enemies within a 12-foot radius and just start bench pressing them. This will CC all of the enemies until they are dead, or the 15-second interval is done. Look out for him to be added to the support roster in the near future. Thanks for sticking around. All right, next up is Brig Shield Bash. It gives you a 500% movement speed buff, minus 30 for her shield being up, of course. The range is almost 7 meters. I'm an American unit, so I don't really know what that means. It currently gives a 0.75 second stun and has a 7-second cooldown. All right, the only tip I got for this one is that it cannot stun through barriers, so if you're fighting a Winston or something and he jumps on you, or a Reinhardt, I don't know. But with Winston, make sure you don't try to stun while he's near the edge of the barrier. If you even touch a barrier, it becomes non-effective. And then with Rhine, just make sure he doesn't have it, or he's definitely not putting it up, or you'll waste bash. Actually, it does also allow Brig to surf. It's just a small little movement ability. We're going to talk more about that during the advanced guide because I don't actually have a ton to put in there because we are talking about Brig. All right, finally is her ultimate ability, Rally. Rally gives 15 armor for every half a second. It stacks up to 100 armor on yourself and for your allies. It also gives Brig a 30% movement speed buff. It's an 8 meter area of effect, 8.5, sorry. It lasts for 10 seconds and the armor lasts for 30 seconds. And it costs 2,800 points, so 2,800 healing plus damage, however that adds up for you. So general usage for this ult, I tend to use it as a Mercy ult, or a little earlier than I would use a Mercy ult. So you can use it preemptively before poke phase begins, just to give your team that little extra advantage of the 100 armor before it begins. Like I said, it lasts 30 seconds, so you have a good amount of time before you can use it before the fight. You can also use it earlier in the mid fight to give your team an advantage, as you would a Mercy ultimate. It's not as strong as Nano or Lucio ult, but it is certainly it's better than some would expect. A lot like Mercy ult, it can certainly turn the tide of a fight. So a good scenario is using it in like a 5v5 when it's not really certain who's going to win the fight. Rally can be the thing just to flip the tables and make sure your team wins the fight. Okay, that is all her abilities. Now, when do you pick Brig is the next question. You never pick Brig. She's a horrible pick. She's got no movement. She sucks. And actually, in the Overwatch lore, she is a convicted animal pedophile. So, just all around a bad hero. Don't pick her. Thanks for watching. That was cute, right? Wasn't that cute? Okay, seriously. So Brig gets the most value in comps that play together, engage together, and that prefer to brawl. So you're looking for teammates like Rhine, Narissa, Reaper Sim, Torb, just people like that, people that play close, that aren't flanking or don't really have many movement abilities, and that like to brawl. This isn't the end-all, be-all. Obviously, you can play Brig with Dive if you're using her to peel, or even if you're not. You can play her however, but she is somewhat dependent on how your team and the enemy team plays. She's going to be difficult to play when your team is not taking engagements together. Brig is not the raid boss she used to be. She was actually recently demoted from raid boss to low-level quest boss, I'd say. So she needs to get close in order to trigger Inspire. Whip Shot is on a 4-second cooldown, so you can keep Inspire up with it, but most people don't have 100% Whip Shot accuracy. Or maybe I'm the only one that doesn't, and I just suck. But it seems as though most people don't, or I would assume that. So you're gonna need to engage up close to trigger Inspire and get value out of yourself. And if your comp isn't enabling that, say for instance you're running Dive, you have a Winston Ball or something, they're gonna be aggroing, but they're gonna be aggroing in the enemy's flank. So they're still gonna be able to pay attention to you up in the front, and Brig can't frontline anymore. Like I said, not a raid boss. She has a 250 HP shield and no movement besides shield bash. So she definitely needs to be enabled by her comp. All right, let's talk about support pair-ups. A good one is Moira. They have pretty much the same healing range, close to mid-range. And they're both really good against dive. Brig, just through her abilities and whatnot, and her general presence, she's still thought of as a raid boss for sure when she's not anymore. And Moira prohibits dive just through her ability usage, good fade usage and stuff like that. Prohibits dive as Moira. So the two of them together just completely negates a dive comp on the enemy team. She also works well with Anna. They don't really mesh together in terms of playstyle, but she can make up for Anna's only weakness, which is no movement and having 2 long cooldowns for evading dives, which are Sleep Dart and Nade. So playing as Brig, you can just puppy dog your Anna. Don't worry about keeping Inspire up. You'll definitely want to. Excuse me. But not as important as keeping your Anna alive, so they mesh well together when your Anna's getting targeted. She also can be played with heroes like Zen and Mercy. She does have the capacity essentially to faction like a main healer. She puts out a good amount of heals with Inspire, and then Rally on top of that with how fast you get it. She's a pretty good main healer. She doesn't have much burst potential. All she has are those little armor packs. She only has 3 of them on a 6-second cooldown. So typically in the lower ranks, I would recommend against Brig Mercy, Brig Zen, just because teams usually can't function without burst heal in the lower ranks. They don't have the coordination for it. So it certainly can be done. Not recommended for lower ranks, though. All right, finally, what do you do as Brig? What's your play style? What are you doing in a fight? So mainly, you exist to control and to deny space, with your other job functions being safeguarding your other support and keeping Inspire up, respectively, generally. This is why she works best with Ryan. She's not really a god like she used to be. Her skill floor is a little bit higher than sea level right now, so you're definitely going to have to put the time in to learn this hero. As I somewhat mentioned before, Brig is an enabler. You need someone to draw aggro for you now. Not like before, you can't just fight yourself. You're not a raid boss, like I said. You need a Rhine to draw all that aggro, or someone like him that's able to be up in the front and brawl with you and take the aggro. Because Brig can just like in the lore, she is like a sidekick to Rhine. If she's there with him, she's just adding damage to his cleaves, because she also has cleave. She's keeping Inspire up and not getting aggro put on her, so she can worry about stuff like peeling for her other support, or, I don't know, doing whatever it is Brig players do. So the TLDR for that part is your main objectives, peeling for your other support, depending on who your other one is. If it's a Moira, she can probably figure things out for herself. Keep up Inspire, heal teammates, use that burst heal. You'll generally want to keep a pack or so for your for someone if they're really in danger. And then your third tertiary one is going to be just killing bad guys for sure. All right, I hope this answered most of your questions for just how to play Brig and how to function as her in Overwatch. In the next guide, we're going to be going more in depth for, with like advanced tips, some strategies, and in-depth comp based playstyles and more. I can't really go into too much further detail about it because I don't actually know what I'm going to be talking about. So that's really all I got for you. Thank you for watching.